All right, buckle up, everybody, because today we're going deep on something kind of out there.
Yeah, this one's a little different.
It
It's
is.
definitely a little controversial even.
It is. We're talking about the KO script. It's actually an excerpt from this pickup artist guide called Maximum Seduction.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, full disclosure, we are not endorsing any of this.
Right.
But it's such a fascinating look at, like, the psychology of persuasion.
Yeah, definitely.
You might even learn a trick or two you could use for your next presentation. Just maybe skip the whole romantic manipulation part.
Right. Let's be totally upfront about this thing. The whole point of this script is to use like psychological tactics to make a woman intensely fascinated with you.
Wow.
Like the author even calls it a mega script.
Mega script.
And it's based a lot on Robert Cialdini's principles of influence.
Oh, yeah, we got to unpack that.
We will.
For sure.
As we go.
So this isn't just for any woman, though, right? There's a specific type of person this is aimed at.
Yeah, exactly. He actually says this isn't for what he calls airheads and bimbos. He is really going after women he calls suggestible.
Suggestible.
Meaning that they're like open to new ideas and kind of easily influenced.
I see.
He even has this test you can use to figure out how suggestible someone is based on how they respond to certain questions or suggestions. It's all about watching for verbal and nonverbal cues to see how receptive someone might be.
Okay, so you're looking for someone who's open to suggestion.
Well,
not necessarily someone who's, I don't know, easily tricked or something.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
So how does this script actually work?
So the script itself is divided into these phases. Each one is designed to like trigger a specific psychological response.
Okay.
And honestly, some of them get pretty intense.
Yeah, I was reading through it, and some of the lines were a little much, let's just say.
Yeah, he's definitely aiming for a strong emotional reaction.
Okay.
So he starts with what he calls an agreement frame.
Agreement frame.
And it's all about finding common ground right from the beginning. Think like universal truths, like everyone wants to be happy or relationships are important.
So he's trying to get her to agree with him right away?
Exactly.
Before he even really gets into the persuasive stuff.
Exactly.
Sneaky.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, is it ethical? Is that agreement frame really on the up and up?
That's a good point. I mean, finding common ground is important in any conversation.
Yeah.
But the way he's doing it here, it's definitely calculated.
I see.
And then he moves on to what he calls eliciting criteria.
Eliciting criteria.
And that's where he starts asking about what's important to her in a relationship.
Okay, so on the surface, that seems innocent enough.
Right.
Right, like he's just engaging in a normal conversation.
Right.
Getting to know her.
Yeah, like he wants her to open up about her values.
Right.
But by doing that, he's actually accomplishing a few things.
Okay.
First, he's gathering information about what she wants.
Okay.
Which he'll use later to tailor his approach.
Okay.
But more importantly, I think he's creating this sense of connection. Like he really cares about what she thinks and feels.
I can see how that would make someone feel heard. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe they'd be more open to what he has to say.
Yeah. And that sets the stage for the next phase, which he calls the as-if frame.
The as-if frame. This is where it gets really interesting, right?
Yes.
He asks her to imagine a certain scenario.
Exactly.
A future where they've fallen in love and are in this great relationship.
Yep. He even encourages her to visualize specific details, like imagine doing special things together.
It's almost like taking a car for a test drive, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You're not committing to buying it,
right?
But you start to picture yourself behind the wheel.
Exactly. By getting her to imagine this future, he's basically bypassing any resistance she might have.
Oh, that's clever.
There's no pressure, no commitment. It's just presented as like a fun thought experiment.
But he's definitely planting a seed.
Oh, absolutely. He's getting her to at least consider the possibility.
Right, right. And then he takes it even further with this time distortion thing.
Yes, time distortion.
This is wild.
It's actually a really clever use of what psychologists call future projection.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about imagining a future with him.
Right.
It's about actually projecting yourself into that future.
Okay.
So instead of asking what if, he's saying, we're already here. How does it feel?
Oh, that's powerful.
It is.
I actually tried something similar once to convince a friend to go skydiving with me.
Really?
Yeah. And it's amazing how our minds can be swayed just by imagining ourselves in a different reality.
It's pretty incredible.
It really is. He's like collapsing time, you know. Making the outcome seem more real and attainable.
Exactly.
Okay, but then it gets even crazier with this tying in criteria thing.
Tying in criteria.
What is that all about?
Well, he basically takes everything she said was important to her in a relationship
Right.
And then he links it to the future he's created.
So, like, if she said she valued trust,
Right.
he would describe their future relationship as being built on deep trust.
Exactly. He weaves her own words and desires into this scenario.
Well, making it almost irresistible.
It's like he's creating a custom-designed fantasy just for her.
Exactly.
That is intense.
Yeah.
And we haven't even gotten to the part where he brings in all of Cialdini's principles of influence.
Oh, yeah. He definitely saves the best, or maybe the most concerning, for last.
Okay, well, before we jump into that, I really want to hear more about this running the strategy in reverse thing.
Oh, yeah.
He makes her retrace the steps to this inevitable outcome.
Yes, exactly. He asks her to explain how she got from where she is now to this amazing future with him.
I see.
And by doing that, he's reinforcing the idea that this future is not only possible, but it's practically a done deal.
So it's like her own mind is leading her to this conclusion, not his manipulation.
Right.
Wow.
And it's interesting how he phrases the questions.
How so?
He always uses the past tense, like, what was the first thing you heard, saw, or felt?
Oh, I see.
It just subtly reinforces the idea that this future has already happened.
That's deep.
Yeah.
So how does he tie in Cialdini's principles?
Well, basically, he loads up that final visualization with as much persuasive power as he can.
Uh-huh.
He starts by introducing scarcity, making this connection seem incredibly rare and valuable.
Like it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Exactly.
You can't miss out.
Right.
Okay, but there's more.
Oh, there's more.
Okay, spill it.
He brings in authority and social proof, too.
It's going to be good.
So he talks about how this connection is like a famous Broadway play
Okay.
with crowds of people who have seen it so many times and dreamed about it.
Uh-huh.
Like, this level of happiness is something most people only dream of.
Wow. So he's making it seem like everybody's watching.
Right.
Everybody approves,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody wants this for them.
It's like peer pressure, but it's all in her head.
Classic peer pressure.
It's a really brilliant use of social proof.
Wow.
He's creating this external validation, even though it's totally made up,
Yeah.
to reinforce the idea that being with him is the right choice.
So he's using scarcity to make it seem rare and valuable. And then he uses social proof to make it seem like everybody else wants it.
Exactly.
That's like marketing, but for relationships.
It is very similar to marketing.
Okay, well, tell me how he uses authority.
Well, he positions himself as someone who really understands this deep connection,
Okay.
someone who can guide her to this amazing future.
Oh, I get it.
It's subtle,
Yeah.
but he's establishing himself as like an expert in love and relationships.
Right. So it's not just about the relationship itself.
Yeah.
It's about his supposed ability to make it happen.
Right. He's the key.
He's the love guru.
Exactly.
Okay, so what about reciprocity?
Oh, yeah. Then he throws in reciprocity.
Remind me how reciprocity works again.
So it's the idea that if someone does something for you, you feel obligated to do something for them in return.
Right.
In this case, the author has the guy talk about how life has been so good to the woman by offering her this amazing opportunity to be with him.
So it's like he's saying, look at all I'm giving you. You owe me something back.
Right.
And that something is her heart.
Yep.
Her commitment.
It's a very subtle
Wow.
but powerful way to make her feel obligated.
He's basically hitting her with every psychological tactic he can think of.
Yes, to get that emotional response.
And lead her to the conclusion he wants.
Exactly.
It's kind of mind-blowing when you break it down like that.
Yeah.
And even the author himself seems to know how strong this stuff is.
Right.
He even warns about potential obsession.
Mm-hmm. He says women might become overly attached.
So he's giving all this advice on how to manipulate women.
Yeah.
But then he's also saying, oh, be careful. You might create an obsessed stalker.
Right. He includes these little warnings.
It's like he created a psychological weapon, and then he's like, oh, yeah, by the way, handle with care.
Yeah.
The whole thing just feels a little icky to me.
Yeah, it definitely raises some ethical questions.
It does. It makes you wonder, even if these techniques work, is it really okay to use them this way?
Right. Like to manipulate someone into feeling a certain way, even if it's a good feeling.
Right. I mean, we all use persuasion in our daily lives, right?
Like trying to convince a friend to see a movie or get a raise at work.
Of course.
But this just feels different.
It is. There's a big difference between persuasion and manipulation.
Right.
Persuasion is about presenting information so someone can make an informed choice.
Okay.
Manipulation is about using sneaky tactics to control someone's behavior or their emotions.
Okay, so the KO script,
Yeah,
that's definitely leaning towards manipulation.
I would say so.
It's about getting what you want no matter how the other person feels.
Exactly. And that's where the real danger is.
Right.
Even if you manage to knock someone out with this script,
Right.
if you haven't built a real connection with respect and all that, the relationship won't last.
Right. You're just going to end up hurting people.
Exactly. It's like building a house on sand.
I like that analogy.
It might look good at first,
Yeah.
but it's not going to stand the test of time.
This is really making me think about the power of persuasion and how important it is to be aware of these tactics.
Yeah.
Not just in romantic relationships, but in every part of life.
You're absolutely right.
So we've talked about the dark side of persuasion.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, could some of these techniques actually be used ethically?
That's a really good question.
Like, could you use them to improve communication, build real connections?
That's a question for another deep dive.
And you know what?
Yeah.
You're right. We could do a whole episode on that.
We could?
But for now,
Yeah.
I think it's time to shift gears a bit and talk about how these persuasive tactics show up in other areas of life.
Okay.
Like we were talking about marketing earlier.
Yeah.
Think about all the times you see those limited time offer sales.
Oh, yeah.
That's scarcity in action, right?
Totally. They're trying to make you feel like you have to act right now.
Yeah, or you'll miss out.
Or you'll miss out.
And it works.
Oh, yeah, I fall for it all the time.
Me too. Suddenly I need that sweater,
Right.
even though I wouldn't have even looked at it otherwise.
Exactly. It plays on that fear of missing out
Yeah.
that we all have.
It's like they're trying to create this sense of panic. Like, you got to buy it now.
Before it's gone.
Before it's gone. And what about all the ads with celebrities?
Oh, yeah.
You know, like if Beyonce uses it, it must be amazing.
That's the authority principle.
Right.
We naturally trust people we see as experts or,
Influencers.
influencers.
Like if a famous athlete is promoting a sports drink
Yep.
or a doctor is recommending a medicine,
Exactly.
we're going to listen.
We give their opinions more weight.
It makes sense. I mean, we look up to these people. We admire them.
Yeah.
So we want to believe what they're saying, even if they're getting paid to say it.
Exactly. And it's not just celebrities.
Right.
Think about those ads with experts, like scientists or doctors.
Oh, yeah.
Talking about how great a product is.
Right. Or you see those testimonials from real people
Yes.
saying how much a product changed their life.
Exactly. That's social proof.
Right.
We're way more likely to try something if we see other people doing it.
Especially people we trust.
Yes.
Or people we admire.
Exactly.
Wow. So it's not just pickup artists who use this stuff.
Nope.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
And we're all being influenced by it, whether we realize it or not.
It can be overwhelming when you start to think about it.
It really can.
Oh.
But you know what?
What?
I think awareness is the first step to taking back control.
I agree.
By understanding these tactics, we can be more savvy consumers, more critical thinkers.
Absolutely.
It's like we've been given this decoder ring
I love that.
to decipher all the hidden messages around us.
Yes. Now we can start to question things.
Right.
Why am I being told this?
Yeah.
Who benefits from me believing this?
It's about being more skeptical, more discerning,
Yeah.
and ultimately more empowered
Exactly.
to make choices that are right for us.
That are based on our own values.
Yes, I am already starting to see these tactics everywhere.
Right.
It's like I've put on a new pair of glasses
Yeah.
and I can suddenly see the world in a whole new way.
That's the power of knowledge.
It is.
Once you understand how these techniques work,
Uh-huh.
you can't unsee them.
So what can we do about it?
Well, awareness is the first step, like we said.
Right.
But beyond that, it's about developing critical thinking skills.
Okay.
Question everything.
Don't just take things at face value.
Exactly.
Do your research. Think for yourself.
That's a good mantra for life in general.
It is.
Not just for dealing with persuasion.
Right.
It's about being informed,
Mm-hmm.
being discerning,
Mm-hmm.
and ultimately trusting your gut.
I love that. Trust your gut.
If something feels wrong, it probably is.
Exactly.
We often have that little voice inside us
Mm.
telling us that something's not right,
Right.
but we don't always listen.
We get caught up in the moment.
Yeah.
We let our emotions take over.
Right.
But if we're aware of these tactics,
And we use our critical thinking skills,
Yeah.
we can make more conscious choices
I love that.
in all parts of our lives.
This has been a truly eye-opening deep dive.
It has been.
I feel like I've learned so much
Okay.
about persuasion
Mm-hmm.
and being a more critical consumer of information.
I'm glad to hear that.
You know what? This conversation is sparking a whole new set of questions in my mind.
Oh, yeah. Like, well,
Like, where's some examples of how these techniques can be used ethically?
hmm.
How can we use them to build stronger relationships,
Right.
to communicate more effectively, to make a positive difference in the world?
Those are great questions.
They are.
And honestly, I think they deserve their own deep dive.
You're right. We should explore those topics another time.
Absolutely.
But for now,
Yeah.
I think we should leave our listeners with something to ponder.
Okay.
What's one final thought you want to leave them with?
I think the most important thing to take away from this deep dive is that knowledge is power. By understanding these techniques, we can protect ourselves from manipulation and use them for good in our own lives.
That's a great point to end on.
I think so.
Be aware, be critical, be empowered.
Yes. And remember,
Yes.
trust your gut.
Always. Trust your gut. Thanks for joining us on this fascinating journey
My pleasure.
into the world of persuasion. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.
It's like he's saying, hey, look at this incredible opportunity I'm giving you.
Right.
You better show some appreciation.
Yeah, and that appreciation better come in the form of a relationship.
Right. Like he wants her heart, her affection, her commitment.
Wow. He really throws everything at her.
He does. Like every psychological trick in the book.
Yeah, just to get that emotional response
Mm-hmm.
and lead her to the exact conclusion he wants.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It really is.
Yeah.
And even the author himself seems to realize this is some powerful stuff.
Yeah.
He even warns about potential obsession.
I know. He says women might become overly attached after this.
So he's basically giving this guide on how to manipulate women.
Right.
And then he's adding this disclaimer like, oh, by the way, you might accidentally create a stalker.
Yeah, it's kind of like he invented some psychological weapon.
Right.
And then he's like, oh, be careful not to hurt anyone with this.
Yeah, the whole thing feels a little ethically questionable.
It definitely raises some questions.
It does. It really makes you wonder, even if these techniques work, is it really okay to use them like this?
Right. Like, is it okay and manipulate someone into feeling a certain way?
Even if it's a positive feeling, like love or connection.
Right.
I mean, we all use persuasion in our everyday lives.
Right. Of course.
Like if you're trying to convince a friend to watch a movie or trying to get a raise at work.
Right.
But this KO script, this feels different.
It is. There's a difference between persuasion and manipulation.
Right.
Persuasion is about giving someone information
Okay.
so they can make a choice.
Right.
Manipulation is about using these sneaky tactics to try to control someone.
Control their behavior.
Exactly.
Their emotions.
Right.
So the KO script,
Yeah.
that's definitely more on the manipulation side.
I would say so.
It's about getting what you want regardless of the other person's feelings.
Exactly. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
Even if you manage to knock someone out with this script,
Right.
if there's no real connection there,
Yeah.
no respect, no real feelings, the relationship's not going to last.
It's going to fall apart.
Right. It's like building a house on a foundation of sand.
It looks good at first,
Yeah,
but it's not going to stand the test of time.
exactly.
This whole thing is really making me think about the power of persuasion
Yeah.
and how important it is to be aware of these tactics.
Definitely.
Not just in romantic relationships,
Yeah.
but in every area of life.
You're absolutely right.
So we've talked about the dark side of all this, but I have to wonder, could any of these techniques be used ethically?
That's a really interesting question.
Like, could you use them to actually improve communication,
Yeah.
build real, genuine connections?
That's a question for another deep dive.
You know what?
Yeah?
I think you're right.
I think so.
We could do a whole episode on that.
We could.
But for now,
Yeah.
let's shift gears a bit
Okay.
and talk about how these persuasive tactics
Right.
show up in other parts of our lives.
All right.
Like we were talking about marketing before.
Right.
Think about all those limited time offer sales you see everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Those are everywhere.
That's scarcity at work.
Right. Totally. They make you
Yeah.
feel like you have to act now.
Yeah. Or you're going to miss out.
Exactly. Don't miss out.
It's so effective.
It is. I'm a sucker for it.
Me too. All of a sudden I need that new gadget
Right.
or that sweater.
Even though you wouldn't have even considered it before.
Exactly. It's playing on that fear of missing out.
It is.
And they know it.
It's like they're trying to create this sense of panic.
Yeah, like buy it now
Before it's gone.
before it's too late. What about all those ads with celebrities?
Oh, yeah, the celebrity endorsements.
Like if Oprah recommends a book,
Right.
it must be good.
It must be.
That's the authority principle.
Right. It is. We're more likely to trust someone
Yeah.
if we see them as an expert.
Right. Like a famous athlete promoting a sports drink.
Exactly.
Or a doctor recommending a certain brand of medicine.
Yeah, we tend to listen to them.
It makes sense.
Mm.
We look up to these people.
Mm-hmm.
We admire them.
We want to be like them.
So we're more likely to believe what they say,
Right.
even if they're being paid to say it.
It's true. And it's not just celebrities.
Right.
Think about all those ads with experts,
Uh-huh.
like scientists in lab coats,
Oh, yeah.
or doctors with stethoscopes.
Yeah, they make the product seem more credible.
Right. They lend their authority to it.
And then there are all those testimonials from real people.
Oh, yeah. Real people, just like you and me,
Right.
telling you how much this product changed their lives.
It's like, look, it worked for me. It can work for you, too.
Exactly.
That's
Yes.
social proof in action. Right.
We see other people doing something.
Especially people we trust.
Right.
And we think we should do it, too.
It's a powerful instinct.
It really is.
Right.
So it's not just pickup artists who use these techniques.
Nope. It goes way beyond that.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
We're all constantly being influenced.
Whether we realize it or not,
It's kind of overwhelming when you think about it.
it can be. But the good news is,
What's that?
awareness is the first step to taking back control.
I like that.
By understanding these tactics,
Yeah.
we can be more savvy consumers,
Mm-hmm.
more critical thinkers.
It's like we've been given this decoder ring.
I love that analogy.
Yeah. To decipher all the hidden messages around us.
Now we can ask the right questions.
Right.
Why am I being told this?
Yeah.
Who's benefiting from me believing this?
It's about being more skeptical,
Mm-hmm.
more discerning,
Right.
and ultimately more empowered
Exactly.
to make choices based on our own values.
That's the goal.
I'm already starting to see these tactics everywhere I look now.
Right. It's like you've put on a new pair of glasses.
Exactly. And I can suddenly see the world in a whole new way.
That's the power of knowledge.
It really is. Once you understand how these things work,
Yeah.
you can't unsee them.
It's true.
So what can we do about it?
Well, like we said, awareness is the first step.
Right.
But beyond that, it's about developing our critical thinking skills.
Okay.
Question everything.
Don't just take things at face value.
Exactly. Do your research.
Yeah.
Think for yourself.
That's a good rule for life in general,
It is.
not just for dealing with persuasion.
Right. It's about being informed,
Mm-hmm.
being discerning,
Yeah.
and ultimately trusting your gut.
I love that. Trust your gut.
If something feels wrong,
Yeah.
there's probably a reason.
I think we all have that little voice inside us sometimes telling us something's not right,
Yeah.
but we don't always listen.
When you get caught up
And we
in
let our
something.
emotions take over.
Exactly. But if we're aware of these tactics
Mm-hmm.
and we use our critical thinking,
Yeah.
we can make better choices.
More conscious choices.
More conscious choices.
I love that. This has been such an eye-opening conversation.
Yes.
I feel like I've learned so much about persuasion
Good. I'm glad.
and how to be a more informed consumer of information.
That's what it's all about.
This conversation is making me think about a whole new set of questions.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what are some ways these techniques can be used ethically?
Mm,
Can we use them to build stronger relationships,
right.
to communicate more effectively,
Mhm.
to actually make a positive difference in the world?
Those are all really good questions.
They are.
Honestly, I think they deserve their own deep dive.
You know what?
Mm.
You're right.
I think so.
We should explore those topics another time.
We should.
But for now,
Yeah.
I think we should leave our listeners with something to think about.
Okay.
What's one final thought you want to leave them with?
I think the most important takeaway from all of this is that knowledge is power.
Okay.
By understanding these techniques, we can protect ourselves from being manipulated
Right.
and use them for good in our own lives.
That's a great note to end on.
I think so.
Be aware. Be critical.
Mhm.
Be empowered.
Yes. And remember,
Yes.
trust your gut.
Always trust your gut. Thanks for joining us on this fascinating journey
My pleasure.
into the world of persuasion. We'll see you next time for another deep dive. Okay, so we've seen how those persuasive techniques can be a bit shady when used in that whole pickup artist thing.
Right. Definitely not the most ethical application.
But you were saying they're not limited to that, right?
Not at all. These tactics pop up everywhere.
Like where? Give me an example.
Think about advertising, sales, even politics.
Okay.
They all use similar strategies to try to influence us.
So how does that play out in everyday life?
Well, take those limited time offer sales you see everywhere.
Oh, yeah?
That's classic scarcity,
Right.
making you feel like you have to act now or you'll miss out.
Oh, yeah, I totally fall for that. I'm like, I got to get it before it's gone.
Exactly. It plays on that fear of missing out,
Yeah, it really worked.
and it makes you think you need something that you probably don't.
That's true. What about all those celebrity endorsements?
Ah, yes, the power of celebrity.
Like if George Clooney drinks that coffee, it must be amazing.
That's the authority principle at work.
Right.
We tend to trust people we see as knowledgeable or influential.
So it's not just about the product itself.
Yep.
It's about who's selling it to us.
Exactly. Like if you see a famous athlete promoting a sports drink or a doctor recommending a specific medicine,
We're more likely to buy it.
we give their opinions more weight because we see them as authorities.
Makes sense. And then there's that whole everybody's doing it thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like when you see a restaurant with a line out the door or a product with thousands of 5-star reviews.
That's social proof, one of Cialdini's big ones.
Social proof.
Yeah.
So we see other people doing something
Especially people we trust.
and we think, oh, I should do that too.
It's a powerful instinct.
It really is. It makes you realize how easily we can be influenced without even knowing it.
It's happening all the time. It's like our brains are wired to respond to these tactics.
So it's not just about being tricked.
Not necessarily.
It's more like these natural tendencies we have are being used against us
That's a good way to put it.
in these very subtle ways.
Yeah, but the good news is
What's that?
awareness is the first step to taking back control.
I like that. So by understanding these tactics,
Exactly.
we can be more aware of what's going on.
More savvy consumers.
Yes, more critical thinkers.
Absolutely.
It's like we've been given this decoder ring
That's a great analogy.
to see through all the BS.
To decode all the messages around us.
Now we can ask the right questions.
Exactly. Like, why am I being told this?
Yeah.
Who benefits if I believe this?
It's about being more discerning,
Mm-hmm.
more skeptical,
Yeah,
and ultimately more empowered to make our own choices.
that's the goal.
I'm already starting to see these tactics everywhere.
Right.
It's like I've put on these new glasses
Yeah.
and suddenly I see the world in a whole new way.
It's amazing what a little knowledge can do.
It really is.
Mm.
Once you understand how these things work, you can't unsee them.
It's true.
So what can we do to protect ourselves?
Well, like we said, awareness is key.
Right.
But beyond that, it's about developing our critical thinking skills.
Okay.
Question everything.
Don't just accept things at face value.
Right. Do your research. Think for yourself.
That's good advice for life in general.
It really is. It's about being informed, being discerning, and ultimately trusting your gut.
I love that. Trust your gut.
If something feels off, there's probably a reason.
We've all had that feeling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that little voice inside saying, wait a minute, something's not right here?
Yeah, but we don't always listen.
It's easy to get caught up in the moment.
It is. We let our emotions take over.
But if we're aware of these tactics
Mm-hmm.
and we use our critical thinking skills, we can make better choices for ourselves.
More conscious choices.
More conscious choices.
Okay.
I love that. This has been such an eye-opening deep dive.
It has been a fascinating topic.
I feel like I've learned so much about persuasion
I'm glad to hear that.
and how to be a more informed consumer.
That's what we aim for.
I'm even thinking about some new questions now.
Oh, like we
Re-
did?
Like, what are some ways these techniques could be used ethically?
Hmm.
You know, could we use them to build stronger relationships,
Interesting.
to communicate more effectively,
Yeah.
to make a real difference in the world?
Those are great questions, and honestly, I think they deserve their own deep dive.
You're right. We should definitely explore that another time.
Absolutely.
But for now, I think it's time to wrap things up.
Okay, sounds good.
What's one final thought you want to leave our listeners with?
I think the most important thing to remember is that knowledge is power.
I like that.
By understanding these persuasive techniques, we can protect ourselves from manipulation. And we can use them for good in our own lives.
So it's not about avoiding these tactics altogether.
No, not necessarily.
It's about understanding them
Mm-hmm.
and using them responsibly.
Exactly.
That's a great note to end on.
I think so.
Well, this has been a fascinating conversation.
It has.
Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of persuasion.
My pleasure.
And to our listeners, stay curious, stay informed, and as always, trust your gut.
Yep.